Hi, this is Scott Seaton, music director of the North State Symphony, and we're here on another edition of Musician Accents. And this time around, we are featuring our principal percussionist, Matthew Timman. Matthew, great to see you here.
Yeah, good to see you too.
It's been a while since we've actually seen each other in person, unfortunately, but global pandemics being what they are, how have you been these past 11 or so months?
Uh, I'm surviving. uh, uh, Playing where I can and just trying to stay sane.
Yeah, and it's probably especially hard for most musicians who make a lot of their living by doing gigs like the North State Symphony, which as I understand it, you that was your boat, that was what was happening to you. So, you've had to do other things to compensate for that lost work, haven't you?
Yeah. Right now, I teach English. Um, I during the pandemic, I did something I've been kind of thinking about for maybe 10 years or so, since I had a friend who I went to high school with who taught English as a second language
Hmm.
after he graduated from his master's degree, and he lived in South Korea for a number of years teaching English. And obviously, I can't move anywhere right now, but I did my certification,
Mm.
and right now I teach about five to, I think highest is 12-year olds, living in China, and I work for a Beijing-based education company. Um, that also means that I am working on Beijing time.
Oh, wow.
So I went to sleep at about 7 o'clock this morning.
Oh, geez.
So
So I'm basically interrupting your sleep schedule right now.
I got a couple hours.
Well, that's both crazy and great that you're able to balance out your life like that and keep yourself going in that way. And I'm sure there's a lot of to be English speakers who appreciate what you're doing.
Yeah. I,
um, and on the musician side, what's been going on that front aside from the North State Symphony?
I've been working a couple times for the Tucson Symphony, where I live here in Tucson, Arizona. Um, it's very limited things, but we've had a couple recording sessions for the percussion quartet, um, who I play with occasionally. The principal percussionist of the TSO, Omero Cerrone, he retired at the end of last season, and they haven't been able to have an audition yet to
Mm.
fill his position. So every time that they're doing these percussion ensemble, percussion quartet group recordings, they always need another person. So that's been me so far.
Nice.
Um, so we did a children's concert back in January that I wrote one of the arrangements for. Actually, my wife and I wrote the script for. Um, and we're doing another program in March, which is more serious, less me wearing a tiger mask kind of concert. So
I'm sure you're thrilled about that, right?
I don't know. The tiger mask is pretty good.
So you mentioned you live in Tucson, and I'm sure a lot of people in our greater viewership didn't know that. So, we have a few musicians who live out of state, and you are a principal percussionist is one. Our principal horn player lives in Memphis, Tennessee. Our principal tubist and a section violist live in Bend, Oregon. So, we have a spattering of musicians that live elsewhere, and um, what's great about this is we're one of the orchestras that do blind auditions, and you're one of the crazy ones who actually came up and auditioned for us. And so everything was done behind a screen, and percussion auditions are just something else, let me tell you, because I think one of the excerpts was cymbals on, what was it, Tchaikovsky fourth.
Yeah.
Oh man. And I remember I think it was Brian Simpson and I listening to auditions, and just just the moment you can never quite expect when that's going to
Oh
happen.
yeah,
But I certainly appreciate that you came all the way up to Northern California, and it's certainly great
yeah.
to have you as part of the symphony family. Um, but let's back up a little bit. So that let's see, that was with the you've been with us for this is your second season with us.
Uh,
E
2020 would have been the third,
Oh, it's the third. Okay,
but yeah.
so third season. And now, as far as percussion, how did you get started in music, and how did you decide on percussion?
Uh, I just I decided on percussion just because when I was in sixth grade, I was like I either want to play trumpet or drums,
uh
and I think that they didn't want any more trumpet players. Um, and I just kind of I continued doing it until I was in high school, but I wasn't like, this is what I want to do with my life,
Mhm.
kind of thing. That really didn't happen, I think, until I was like halfway through high school.
Oh, really?
Um, and up until that point, I was like, I'm gonna be a policeman when I grow up. And it wasn't until probably my sophomore year that I was like, I think I'm gonna try to do music, and I went into my undergrad for music ed to be a band director,
Hmm.
and about halfway through, I switched to performance from ed.
Was there a defining moment? Yeah, you had been involved with music, and you picked percussion because there were too many trumpets. But was there like a defining moment for you that you said, "I want to do music for the rest of my life"?
I think it was just one of those times where uh, I'm a very introspective person.
Mhm.
Since I was a kid, um, and even as a high school, I'm like, what is gonna make me happy? Like, what am I gonna do that's the whole thing of like, if you do what you love, you never work a day in your life.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
I'm not sure why I was thinking about that at the age of 15, but I was like, I like playing drums, so let's try to do that.
Um, and I see behind you, you have no less than a buttload of
Oh
percussion.
no, yeah.
So tell us about your percussion collection, and how long did it take to acquire everything I see in the background?
Well, I'm in a lucky position that my wife is also a percussionist.
Oh, really? I
Uh,
didn't know that. Okay.
yeah, we um, we actually met in 2013 in Vermont.
Oh, wow.
We both were attending uh, a intensive with the composer Stuart Saunders Smith in his home in Vermont, um, and we met, and it wasn't love at first sight. We were colleagues, and but she uh, said she had high praise for the University of Arizona, where she had just started her doctorate.
Mhm.
And when I applied for doctoral schools the following year, I applied for the University of Arizona, and that's where I ended up. And then we ended up dating once I was here.
Ah, I see.
But because of that, some of this is hers and some of this is mine.
Ah,
So it's a shared situation. But we have most of the snare drums are mine.
okay.
Um, and a couple of them are drums I've built,
Oh, really?
um, because that was one of the things that I've done over the last couple of years. Um, this is one of the drums that I've built.
So how did you do that?
I buy the shells.
Okay. Okay.
Um, they're the only thing that's usually been done to them is that they've had the bearing edges done,
Hmm.
and sometimes the snare beds where the snares actually sit on the head. Um, and then everything else is kind of up to my imagination as far as like what is the wrap going to be like, what is the hardware going to be like,
Uh-huh.
what is the snare mechanisms going to be like,
Wow.
and it just kind of piece things together. Um,
I'm
I
sure there's a whole world of nuance in percussion sounds that even I don't have that you must have acquired by doing this sort of thing.
yeah.
So wow, that's impressive. And it is typically building a drum more inexpensive than actually purchasing a drum?
Um, by this much,
Oh,
I'd
really?
say. Uh, yeah, I mean, like this drum wasn't very expensive to build.
Hmm.
It kind of depends on what you want to get out of it.
I see.
It also depends on the size, definitely too. Like small shell drums. I built this one too. This tiny snare drum. Like
Almost looks like a
the
tambourine.
yeah. Uh, like this shell, this tiny shell is probably cost me like $30.
It's not bad.
I mean, so then most of the money you're putting into it is the hardware.
I see.
So
So now that you've done that, do you prefer building drums as opposed to buying just completed drums by themselves?
no.
No? Okay. How long does the process take?
If I actually like sat down and did it,
Uh-huh.
uh, probably the longest part is getting the parts. Um, it would probably take me like a day or two to actually build it.
That's not bad.
Um, it's just more of you definitely want to measure twice, cut once, so that you're not like drilling holes and you're like, oh, this is wrong. Now I'm going to throw away this entire shell. That was a $300 mistake or
Oh,
something like
really?
that.
Wow. Oh no.
So
So you've acquired these skills of building percussion. And obviously, you're a stellar musician, and being an independent musical artist, you've also acquired a few other hats, like I have myself in the past year. So you're involved in sound editing and video editing. Tell us about your background in that and why it's so important in what we do.
uh, yeah, it really just allows you. It opens up a lot of doors to what you can do. Really,
Hmm.
um, if if I hadn't at the beginning of the pandemic gone like, okay, well, it really didn't come out of like I need to do this now.
Yeah.
It was more of like there is nothing for me to do. So I I wanted to make projects and try to you know communicate with my colleagues and put together stuff
Right.
while we couldn't see each other. So the first thing I ever put together was a video that it was me. Um, I also play for Rogue Valley Symphony up in Medford, Ashland, and I it was the principal timpanist and the principal percussionist. And then I also play in Flagstaff, which is northern Arizona,
Yeah.
and the principal percussionist played. And then a guy who used to play for Flagstaff, who lives in Oklahoma City, and then my wife also played.
Oh, wow.
And it was we did the last movement of Capriccio Espanol,
That's right. I remember
and
that. That was a fun video.
yeah, and that was kind of my trial by fire, just because I wanted to figure it out.
Right.
Um, and that was an interesting experience. I was interviewed on the news in Ashland
Really?
for
Wow.
that, yeah, which I didn't expect to happen. um, it was just more of like, this is a thing I want to do, not like I want people to pay attention to me
Right, right.
kind of thing. But
So that's wonderful. And people might not know, but we had our Conversations virtual concert last night, and you were the editor compiler for the piece that you played in, which was the Daniel Levitan variations on a Ghanaian theme, which wonderfully done. And how difficult would you say it's difficult to put together three independent percussion parts? I mean, what challenges did you have to overcome to put that together?
Yeah, it's a weird experience.
Hmm.
Just because like chamber music is a thing that it is completely based on communication,
Yeah.
and um, especially as percussionists, because like percussion quartet music has kind of become one of the big main mediums of contemporary music.
Yeah.
We get a lot of training in chamber music skills, and it's odd to have the voice in the back of your head saying like, okay, like you have a unison here, you need to look at them, you need to like, and but there's nobody there. So uh, it's just more of, at that point it's just having to really focus on like your other side of your percussionist self, that like I'm going to play correct rhythms completely in time, and then once everything goes together it will actually go together correctly.
Right.
um,
You
and
hope.
we used yeah, and we used I made a click track
Mhm.
for them to play to. So I made a click track that had every beat, and it would also call out all the rehearsal numbers,
Oh wow. Okay.
so that they knew exactly where they were. If there was any snafus, they knew exactly where they were. So it kind of takes the stress out of, not being able to play with other people.
Right.
To you have a little bit of a friend in the click track.
Sounds like you were immensely organized, and click tracks are something completely new to me, and I've only started creating them in the past several weeks, even, and it takes some dedication to do that really, really well. So I appreciate that skill now. Um, do you have any favorite composers, Matt?
uh, Anybody who uses a lot of percussion. Um, I uh, I really really love Shostakovich.
Hmm.
Um, my first introduction to playing Shostakovich was maybe wasn't until like my third year of playing with Flagstaff Symphony, and we did. Oh no, it must have been the second year. We were
Hmm.
doing auditions for music directors,
Oh, okay.
and one of the candidates did Shostakovich 5,
Ah,
um, which is just an amazing piece. And this also kind of led me down my avenue as like a percussionist, because we all have to play everything, but in most professional settings we kind of specialize,
right.
and it's always kind of been this way. Like if you go back to like the famous percussion sections,
Yeah.
like the New York Philharmonic under Bernstein, everybody knows that Buster Bailey, who played in the section, was the snare drummer,
Hmm.
and uh, uh, like Saul Goodman is the timpanist. I'm blanking on names, which is bad.
No worries.
But Arnie Lang. Arnie
Mhm.
Lang, who is the only surviving member of that section, was the cymbal player.
Oh, really?
And um, I, during my time starting out with Flagstaff, I kind of became the cymbal player,
Uh-huh.
um, and that's actually what I wrote my doctoral dissertation on, was orchestral cymbal playing.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, and Shostakovich 5 is a huge cymbal playing moment, at the end, with the ba 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 dum dum dum. Like it's huge, and I think that was kind of a like where any qualms or questions I had about like I like playing cymbals,
Right, right,
where
right.
that ended. I'm like, yeah, this is me now.
Man,
Um,
you bring up Shostakovich 5. I don't know if you knew this, but the first iteration of the season that I programmed, Shostakovich 5, would have been our May finale. And man, am I disappointed in that. Such a great piece all
Yeah,
around, and such a fascinating last movement, and such a wide variety of tempi. And honestly, this is a huge debate, but I've actually um, preferred the slower, excruciating, dare I say, original tempo that Shostakovich intended. And you spoke about the last few bars.
yeah,
Tam ti ya pom ping kong cha. The section before that, when the violins are playing the repeated hammer A's,
yeah,
ja dee 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 dee. Just like I studied with Kurt Mazur, and he described it as just these hammer blows over the audience.
yeah,
Caw, caw. So I mean, the percussion are such a crucial element in all of this. I hope we get to do it very soon.
yeah. It's very visceral.
Oh yeah, no, it's such a
Uh,
powerful symphony, and especially if you learn about the story behind it, it's an
yeah.
amazing piece of music. Do you have any? You've been with us for, I guess, about 3 seasons now. Do you have any concerts that stand out as being like a most memorable event?
Uh, Anytime I get to play loud, um, I mean the organ symphony was great,
Oh yeah,
and that had some loud cymbal stuff.
oh yeah.
Um, what is it? There's a piano concerto. Um, Not the list. Um, has a really notey glockenspiel part
Oh,
where it's all in unison with the left hand of the piano.
I
Um,
would have to think about that. What we've done, huh?
um, I remember that very distinctly.
Uh huh.
Um, uh, just because it was the kind of thing that like when uh, I got it in all the concerts, but there was like a rehearsal where I was like, oh, this is not going well. Like like getting it in the concerts is like one of the most satisfying feelings
Yeah.
when it's just like a ton of notes and you know that you played the notes right where they need to be on time. Um, yeah, that was a fun one.
Yeah, well,
Um,
I hope we get to do Mahler soon. Maybe
yeah,
you can do the hammer blow in Mahler 6.
yeah.
My last question for you today is what do you enjoy doing outside of music? What are your hobbies?
Um, I didn't have that many hobbies until the pandemic.
Oh, really?
Um, uh, I I I started. I built some drums during the pandemic, but that's kind of more still work related.
Hmm.
After a while, um, I started playing more video games,
Oh, really? Okay.
which I never really I didn't have as much time to do,
Uh-huh.
and um, and I started getting more into maybe it's because I wasn't doing as much driving as I was,
Uh-huh.
uh, but I started to get more into like like racing simulators, like
Mm.
realistic racing simulators,
Wow, okay.
um, because that's something I'm interested in. I've never been a super mechanical car guy,
Uh-huh.
and for some reason, in the last year, I'm like, I really like cars.
Interesting.
Um, and it's also odd because my sibling is a mechanic,
Oh.
is a Volvo mechanic, and for the entirety of our life, I was just like, yeah, that's neat, and now I'm just like, whoa, that's awesome. So it's been a weird change, but a positive one.
Well, that's great that you have such a resource in-house, yeah, with your brother,
Yeah,
to ask all the
um,
questions that you could possibly think of. That's amazing.
yeah, um, and just really I got married during the pandemic,
Oh, it
so
was actually
uh,
during the pandemic. Oh, that's great.
yeah, it was in June. So it was just us and pastor and witnesses. So
Outdoors or inside?
yeah,
Okay.
my wife's school has an outdoor amphitheater, so we were able to do it in the outdoor amphitheater.
Nothing
Um,
like a summer wedding in Tucson, eh?
yeah, it was very hot. I thought I was gonna pass out, but I made it through.
Right. Well, that's
I don't
great.
I don't I don't think she would have been thrilled about me passing out during the wedding.
Well, congratulations on almost 1 year of
Thank
marriage now.
Yeah.
um,
This
well,
is this is really the time that tests it.
oh yeah, no, I know. Because yeah, the pandemic started in the first half year of my own marriage, so I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Well, Matthew, it's been great chatting with you today and
Yeah.
learning about your background. And I hope we can get together again and the Laxon Auditorium and Cascade Theater and get some Mahler and Shostakovich going on. But
Yeah.
until then, I hope you and your wife and your family stay safe, happy, and healthy. And we look forward to collaborating soon.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks for
Thanks. I'll
having me.
see you soon. Yeah, it's been a pleasure.